So I'm going to start, future planning as a way of thinking. Now, I guess what I'm getting at here is that sometimes we think of planning as you have a, with the NDIS, you have a planning session and then you get on with your life. I'm putting up an alternative thought here, that planning and visioning and planning should be a way of thinking, the way you're working all the time. And as a sobering thought, I guess where this really became very clear to us was when Mina was dying. It was as if, and I guess I couldn't have told you this beforehand, I would not have known that. So I'm sharing with you an experience that I hope none of you have. But we talked to other people around that time and they said, oh look, you don't need to plan anymore. You know? Hey, it's all over, Red Rover, you know? Let's just glide to the end. But no, Mina's, the visioning and the planning that we had done was even more important towards the end of her life. Our hopes and dreams for her were not going to come to fruition, but the vision of the sort of person that we wanted her to be, that she wanted to be, the sort of life that she wanted to have, we knew clearly, and we worked towards that vision and plan to the end. So here is a woman who was extremely vulnerable towards the end. She had dementia. She didn't remember anyone. She remembered us. Or maybe she was just so good at it, she smiled at everyone. We believe she remembered us. She didn't remember her workers. She didn't remember that she'd had a cappuccino half an hour ago. So we'd have sometimes 6 cappuccinos in a morning. It was pretty hairy, but she was able to live in her own home, surrounded by her friends and family, till 4 days before she died. And the only reason we had to place her in hospital is because she had swine flu and was highly contagious. So in this regard, I just want to, without going on and on, is that visioning and planning is, as a way of thinking, is relevant. Always, right to the end. So, these are my 5 thoughts. That if you don't plan your life, someone will plan it for you. Okay? If you want life handed, if you want a service handed to you on a plate, you will get a plate of gruel. Okay? You will get something you do not want. Very, very likely. You will die. We're on this earth for 5 minutes and it's later than you think. I'm sorry, but I need to keep saying it. Okay? My girlfriend that was born on the same day as me, she died standing up in a train. Bing! Gone. At the age of 51. No reason. Okay? Just happens. We die. The lucky don't sleep in. Okay? People used to say to me, you're lucky. You know, things come your way, you know the best people in town, right? Like you here, I went to everything. I went to find out. I sniffed out who were the best people in town, who were the best thinkers. That's why I knew them, because I searched them out. I found them. I was up early, Okay? Now that we've all got the internet, fabulous. You've got no excuses, really. You can find out anything if you really want it. And I don't think I have to tell you here in this room, because you guys are here. But just when people say to you, you know more, how do you know, or you're more capable than me, or whatever, you say, no, the lucky don't sleep in. Right? So just get up early and get going. Bad things happen. They will happen, they do happen, and the only really comfort I have is that you can become more resilient. I remember an old family member saying to me, it doesn't get easier, you just get smarter. Right? So, and then I interpret that not so much as smarter, but more resilient. You learn to do things better. You learn to, roll with the punches better, pick your battles better, problem solve better. And that can be a conscious thing, because bad things will happen. They happen to everyone. And the last is a secret. I used to whisper it because there were lots of bad things happening for us. But, sometimes life and the dream ran ahead of me. Oh my God, I was always the one heralding the vision. I was the one saying, this is the way forward. I made a life of this. I got a reputation for being a visionary. But actually, things were happening faster than me. There were people coming into Mina's life and taking her forward faster than me. So sometimes things happen that are better, that go on. If you have the positive energy, and I don't want to sound like a New Age guru, I'm seriously not a New Age guru, but this is a secret. I was quite shocked that sometimes really good things happened that went ahead of my vision for me. So in doing the planning, I think I'm going to go back first to suggest to you that you're going to need to ask some hard questions, and that is, who are you? And Jenny mentioned this before. She said you really need to know who you are and who your family culture is, and be proud of it, and name it. This is your family business. And we're a pretty ordinary middle-class family, as you can see. We had Jeremy's father was an Anglican priest. We had cousins. There were other siblings in the family. My husband loved to have a beard, or less, and he liked caftans. There's lots of we're just a pretty ordinary family. But I'm mixing now with Ethiopian Muslim families, Indigenous families, working class families from the coal mines of Ipswich. These families all have particular cultures and particular ways of doing things. And what I've seen is when they do this exercise of really naming who they are and what they're proud of and what they want to hold sacred, this gives them a real strength. And what I love about the NDIS is that that Ethiopian Muslim family can employ Ethiopian Muslims, women. They do not have to have white Anglo-Saxon bossy nurses coming into their home. They can actually have people that will respect their Muslim ways. So, but you need to name that and name who you are. So, and it, anyway, I won't go on about that. But it's also about naming who your network is. Now, I hear people say, there's a woman who's you know, a neck I like to strangle quite regularly. She's a very well-connected woman. You know, she has a doctorate, she's a professor, she's on this committee and that committee, and she comes to me and whinges and says, there's no one in our lives to be on a circle of support for our daughter. And I go, oh, give me strength, you know? She's not bothered to sit down and name who the people in her life are. Now, we all have lots of people. At one point I said to her, there are 1 billion people in the world, go find some. Anyway, that wasn't helpful, but it is about naming who you are and who is in your life and who might be helpful. Anyway, and so this is part of what don't you want. Now I'm going to do a little exercise with you here, quickly. Sorry. In here I've got some paper. I'm going to hand it out across. So I just want you to take a sheet each and fold it into 9. So that's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay? So you fold 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And I'm not going to get you to do any sharing and caring on this one, so, you know, feel free just to... And when you've done that, I want you to get a pen and I want you to write in the 9 squares 9 things in your life that you could not do without. Home, husband, children, music, food, good food, wine. I've just given you some suggestions. I want you to be fast, don't make it me along. Pardon? The 9 things in your life that are indispensable. Just really quickly, I'm just throwing some suggestions out to you. Might be your faith. Might be your garden. Are you going? Got them? It's very easy to get 9 down. Things that are indispensable in your life, that give you quality of life. Okay, now, Serviceland comes along and says, and community, the world says, you actually have a disability, and so you can only have 4 of those things. So I want you to put a pen through 5. On 5, you're only allowed 4, sorry. And be grateful you're getting 4. Okay, what are you going to sacrifice? Your husband? Stop it! Wine. Your garden. Fun. Cut the fun out. Now, I'm not going to ask you to share, but I want you to have a sense of what a nightmare is. Okay? What it is to have a very ordinary life, where your life is limited. And so, and what you've just done is actually identify for yourself what you don't want. The sort of life you wouldn't want, where you can only have a few of the things that you actually see as critical, essential to a quality life. So in doing this, it then helps you to think what you do want. And I've had a bit of indulgence here because I put up some things that Mina wanted that normally, typically wouldn't have happened for a person with her level of disability. One was a home of her own. In fact, she left home at 19. Told us it was going to happen. Okay, no funding. Okay, all right, that's what you want. Okay, she wanted a job. In fact, she wanted a job in the city with a lanyard, you know, and a suit, and a coffee. That's the sort of job she wanted, and we got it. She wanted parties, a lot of parties. She's not interested in nature, not interested in country, not interested in animals. Gentle stuff she wanted. Halloween parties, cocktail parties, purple parties. So we did them. And well, her friends started to take those over. She wanted a lot of friends. We were able to do that. And she wanted to travel. Travel, travel, travel. Okay, she loved to leave town. In fact, she used to get the church to pray for her next trip. And then the church would tell us where she was going. Okay, so in this regard, that's how important the vision is, to identify the dream, to identify what you do want and to name it. Now, there's a little subtlety here because we're talking about families here. And the thing you might need to check is whether the thing you want for your family member is actually what your family member wants. I didn't actually want Mina to leave home at 19. So in this sense, you might need to have other people to just check on you to make sure that you are listening to the person's dream and not your dream. Just a little check on that. Took me a little while to get over the idea of Mina leaving at 19. And it actually was the service coordinator who sat at the kitchen table and said, why not? Why not? Why don't we do it? And I'm going, okay. So, in a way, when you name what the life is going to be like, a good test is, are you frightened? Does the hair on the back of your neck stand up? If it doesn't, you're not thinking hard enough. Okay? You're not thinking hard enough. I want you really scared, okay, of what a good life's going to be. Go, whoa, that's too big. That's huge. Yeah, good, you're on the right path. So how do you get moved from being the scared bit to the action bit? That's actually quite a hard piece of work. And I would suggest one is that you might need to see it. You know, there's the New Age thing, if you believe it, then it will happen. No, you might need to go and see it. You might need to go and find somebody who is doing what your family member wants and go and see them and talk to them and or watch the video or whatever it takes you might need to do to get it. Now, I remember in 1989, everyone was talking to me about inclusive education, and I kept making little excuses in the back of my mind. Oh, she's too disabled, it's too hard, maybe this special school's okay, da, da, da. And then I went to visit a little boy in an electric motorised wheelchair, looking just like Mina, in the middle of a regular classroom, and I went, I got it. I got it, right? You don't need to say any more. It was a clunk moment, you know. I could see this little boy was like my Mina, and it was happening for him, so maybe it can happen for Mina. Right? So I think there is something very valuable in searching out somebody who's a bit ahead of you, who's doing what you're frightened of, that you think that, you know, I've thought it, I've looked at it, I can't forget it, but I don't know what to do next. I think that's the next step. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, and you might need to face your demons. And this is where my husband and I have perennial fights over this one. Okay, because I don't know the answer, and I don't think he knows the answer, but we pretend we know the answer. And that is that if you keep making excuses, you might need to face what's blocking you. Okay, and it may be family pressure. It may be a cultural thing. It may be that you don't have confidence in yourself. I can't fix all of those things, but what I do suggest is that you need to name it and be truthful to yourself on what that is, because we're very good at pretending it's something else. Like it's funding, or it's waiting for the NDIS, or it's, I'm not smart enough, or I'm not whatever. And often people actually need a crisis before they're kick-started into what they need to do. And I don't recommend that, but it does happen quite often that, it's the husband leaves, or some money dries up, or, a service really does something bad or whatever that actually makes you go back, well, okay, now I've really got to move now. I've got no more excuses. But I think it's, I guess I'm trying to get you to avoid that. This is where Jeremy and I part ways, but he says that families, there's a readiness factor, that families will get there in their own time, that they will, they go to things, that families can't move sooner than they're ready. And I say, no, you take families to the edge of the swimming pool and then you push. You push them in. And I've been known to shout, just do it, just get on with it, which isn't very developmental, but we've yet to prove to each other which way works better. But so I'll let you decide. But there's something there about a readiness for change, because the change is scary. But I'm not going to let you off the hook with any lame excuses, like God hasn't told me yet to move, or, I don't know. I've heard them all. Yeah. Okay. So I'm getting you into the thinking now. So what is your plan? Now, planning doesn't have to be a big plan. It can be a small plan. I'd like you to have a big vision, but you can have a small plan. And sometimes, as I said, it can run ahead. But typically, small plans are fine. And if you continue to plan, it will get bigger and bigger and move forward. So don't think a little plan is a bad plan. And I guess I'm going to, again, get into a bit of how-to. I heard someone saying it all gets too much, and, I never have time, and, and I get so anxious about all this. So here are some tips. make a special time each week to do your worrying. Have a worry time, okay? Sunday night, right? Turn off the telly and have your worry time. And go to your worry chair, right? Go and sit in your worry chair with your partner, preferably, and next to your worry chair, you have your virtual in-tray, which you've been putting all your worries for the week, right? So instead of fighting over the washing up, or just before you go to bed saying, the school hasn't run me back, and those awful, destroying conversations one has in the inappropriate times, no. Just put that awful little worry into the worry in tray next to your worry chair, and then on the Sunday night or whenever it is, you go and look in your worry in tray and you sit down and you do some thinking about those issues, and you'll be amazed how empty the worry in tray is. Okay? It might actually, sometimes in the worry in tray they settle down to little solution in trays or little to-do in tray lists. So it's about a discipline of not letting this stuff take over your life. That you can sequester this thinking to certain times. But I also say, even in sequestering it, you do it on a regular basis. Now what Jeremy and I used to do is we would have a communication time each night. Just, we'd come home, we'd have a drink together for an hour, we'd sit down and just talk about the stuff of the day, and then we'd let it go. So there's actually a discipline around that. Whatever works. We used to keep notes. So, you just, in your in-tray, you have a notebook. So you write down what you're going to do this week, whatever it is. So that's it's the intentionality of this that's important. And then there's sometimes that plans and problems that come with those plans are bigger than you. And that's to name it, okay? You name that it's bigger than you. The Australian, nuclear family is a tiny, tiny thing, and some of the issues that come with a person with disability are bigger. So I'm suggesting you bring people in. Okay? So just in that part, it's about starting the planning. Start small, that's fine. Practice keeping it in its place. Don't let it take over. But keep some discipline around that. Now, the letting other people in. This is the scary bit. I hear people say, we've started a circle and then, we've let it go. And, it's all too hard. And, it is hard. It is very hard work. But you get absolutely returns in spades on this one. I've just put up some, you indulge me here. The top photo is when we started a little gallery co-op. Now, I knew that we'd have to start a little business for Mina, but we invited other people in, and these were artists from the neighbourhood. Now, those women were fabulous. They were called the Graceful Gallery Girls, and we just had such a ball for a decade running a little gallery. Now, I would never have been able to do that initiative on my own. And Mina had this wonderful valued role within our local community in running this community art gallery. The one at the bottom right is Mina's staff. Now you can see they were a multicultural bunch. And, we did share a lot with them. We didn't just treat them as workers, and my Right Relationship presentation, I hope, will reflect that. That these women, while they had very defined roles, they were all extraordinary women who brought something extra. Everyone that comes into Mina's life brought something with them, from good cooking to, you know, the culture of Sikhism to, you know, there's one there that was really naughty. She ran away from the army. I was hiding her at one point. You know, oh my God. And then there's a wonderful woman from Zimbabwe who just taught me a whole lot. So, you know, these folk were. It's about, you know, relishing their gifts and bringing them in. And then the picture with the baby, I think, is a very important one, because I think this young woman was on Mina's circle, and I came to realise that it actually takes 3 generations to keep someone safe. You know, a person needs good parents, older people in their lives. They need siblings, or as with Suha's done, people her age to look out for her and to mentor her and for her to understand what it is to be a middle-aged woman. But she will need the next generation to look after her when she's an old woman. So here we have Mina with her, you know, a peer, and with the peer's baby, who, if everything had gone to plan, which life doesn't, would have now been coming into Mina's life as a 6-year-old, get to understand who she is, and would be there, we would hope, we would plan in the future when Mina was an older person. So, yeah, I think it's... There is an intentionality within your planning to bring people in. More minds are better than one. When you trust people, they will challenge you. They will challenge you and keep you honest to yourself, with yourself. It takes time to share the history, so you've got to put a lot of effort and time into it. You can't just do it in a couple of sittings. It's taken me 25 years to understand the Hailstone family. And understand their culture. This is part of your succession plan. And people do let you down. Do people leave? But people come. So a circle is not the same people forever. You can have a circle with completely different people at the end, but the transfer of information happens. Okay? I think that it's a very good illustration of how you know, you can have the plan, but then others can take it on and take it forward for you.